Welcome to the Simply Be Found Huddle with Dean and Rob, where we talk about everything business. Today we have our guest, Andrew. Andrew, welcome. That was a very fun green room. I love that piece for catching up with you. Your company sounds awesome. What can you tell everybody a little bit about your company, how they can find you, and then let's just have a conversation and see where it goes. I think we decided we're going to talk about some about senior marketing and tech and how more seniors aren't the seniors and grandparents that we once knew. But we'll kind of see where the conversation goes.
Yep. Thank you for having me. My name is Andrew Bolton. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tech Rescue IO. We are a 24-hour customer support tech hotline. We handle everything from Bluetooth connectivity to laptops crashing to now getting into today's topic in terms of dating, video games, and everything in between. This is a whole brave new world that technology has allowed a whole demographic of our population, the senior group, 65 and older, over 70 plus million Americans, to do things in ways that they've never done before. And in a lot of ways, we're all catching up to them.
Well, your seniors aren't the same seniors. I mean, I'm going to pick on Dean. It's one of those things to where, you fit the category of what we're talking about today. So that's why I threw you in the middle.
Yeah, I see that.
But it's one of those things to where you have more tech knowledge than we ever have. So if we rewind and we go all the way back to, 1995, and when I was working for HP for the DeskJet division for printers, and I was in between the engineer department and also the tech support. CD-ROMs were just starting to be a big thing coming out. We were going from the floppy disk, and people didn't know what their CD-ROM drive was, and I mean, they would use it as a coffee cup holder, and he'd straight up say that, well, do you have something to hold your coffee? I love that holder on there. Going forward from 1995 to now, they have more technology than they ever have for our seniors. Yes. They have more knowledge. They used it inside of work. They didn't grow up with it, but as much as what today's world is, but they know it because they had to be able to survive. Do you guys agree with that?
Yes, and a little bit on the no side. So according to the Pew Research Group, 73% of seniors need help with technology. This is coming up from where they've been. So the thing that our audience needs to be aware of is when we're talking about seniors, that's 65 and older, right? So the thing that you have in your pocket has more computing power than what landed the space shuttle in 1969, right?
Right.
This generation came up with that. And what we have found from not only the Pew Research Group, but Statistica, as well as AARP, is that technology advances every year by actually 5 years, starting from around the 1990s. So to give you an example, so 89% of seniors, 65 and older, have a smartphone. That's up from 77% as of 2022, which is telling us that 1, our seniors are active, 2, they're purchasing, 3, they are engaging in some form or another. What we are finding, though, is that as they are trying to keep up, they're slipping behind. So what we're finding is 26% of those seniors, and this is from AARP 2023, do not feel comfortable with technology. Now you say, what does that mean? Well, it's not just your emails. It's your Facebook, it's your Instagram, it's your ChatGPT, it's Instagram, it's Twitter, it's TikTok, it's all these things that we subconsciously think, well, we know this. Well, they're having trouble with it. And that's how our company started. Our company started with my grandmother trying to be connected to our grandchildren across the country, with Facebook and liking and adding photos and friend requests. She didn't understand all this. She understood the concept, but to get into the nitty-gritty, on our social media page, our marketing team posted a video of my father asking how to work the Facebook settings on his phone. Well, what I've also found out because of our clients and our customers is companies are removing their contact information and making it harder, actually harder, for you to go into the settings and be able to disable the notifications, to be able to find certain things. Companies have gotten very slick, and I've noticed this personally, and our team has too, is they're shuffling their things around so you don't know exactly where everything is anymore. And
do you know why?
I would love to know the reason why.
Yeah.
So they make that hard to make a lot of those settings changes for notifications and all that because they make money on that. The algorithm needs it from a data science side of things to be able to collect data on that person, so then they can turn that into marketing to be able to market to them. If you have all those settings on, they can do a lot more. If you don't, if you don't hide your certain settings or your search history or whatever from their marketing area and you're opted in, boom, they're going to get you with everything. They have more control.
So for all my customers out there watching, they're doing it on purpose. It's not us. They're doing it. Now, the other thing, too, that I found interesting.
And assholes like me use that data. So, I mean.
Hey, on behalf of my customers, knock it off. On behalf of my business.
So, Andrew, I got to ask a question. So, you're working with people my age or up, and how do you talked about you have tech support? How do you support them? Do you support them with technology, by chat, by email, or do you actually do phone calls, or a combination of all?
We don't do chatbots, we don't do robots, we don't do anything. So we have our call center in the Carolinas. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including Christmas and the Super Bowl. Our number is 855-250-8586. And when you call, there's no press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. You get a real person on the phone. So there's 2 things. The first is in our standard operating procedure manual on the second page in big red letters on the whole page, it says every call is somebody's most important person. And that's the empathy side of our business. That comes from my family. I've seen my grandmother get frustrated, annoyed, and being 97 before she passed. When your elderly person in your life is frustrated, you start getting agitated because this person is important to you. So in our standard operating procedure, and this is our problem now with staffing with this younger generation, is you can be a call center, but for us, we instruct our staff to know that every call is a hot call. So what is a hot call? Frustration, anger, confusion, disorientation, or just annoyance. When you're calling a helpline, you've gotten to the point where you want to call a helpline. So this isn't going to be a pleasant conversation. So our people are tested and screened before we hire them on empathy, how they handle tough situations. It's easy to have a good phone call. It's easy to do that. But to be able to have a hot call time and time and time and time and time again, that takes a certain type of person. And what is important to us, because it was important to my grandmother and because it was important to our family, is that every call is if you're calling our family. So we're not a family company. I don't like that word. But what I will say is this: I will treat your people, the person that you signed up for, like they are my family. And when you do that, when you take that type of attitude with your customers, and I've noticed this in my own life doing business with other people, is that I'm tired of being considered an account number. I don't like the feeling of just being a cog in the wheel. When you call us, you're going to get that type of respect, and somebody knows your name, because when you call up, our system has it, and it's Mrs. Johnson or Mr. Adams or whatever it might be. You're already cooling that call down by addressing that person by their name. And when at the end of the day, when you make their day a little bit better by just solving whatever problem they have, we're doing a little bit of good. But the other aspect too is that, we're having a hard time trying to find those type of people. And I'm really worried about the future.
Yep, you're on mute, Rob. You lost your microphone. Anyway, Michael, I want to know how to get my dad signed up. He's 88 years old. He calls me and he goes, I need you to fix this. And I can't figure it out sometimes. It gets to be a yelling match because family isn't always nice to each other. So and I don't mean to be mean about it, but that's kind of what happens sometimes.
Oh, of course. I've heard some pretty hot calls, but I give my people credit. They've got some great pivoting skills.
Yeah.
And the hard part is trying to find to keep this company growing and to keep us moving. It's getting harder and harder to find applicants that can handle this. And I'm really worried about this generation coming out of school. I really am.
Yeah,
their
interpersonal skills. I mean, I see some issues with some interpersonal skills, not just with this generation, but with people in general. I'm seeing that people can't talk to each other. Like a conversation we're having now, they don't seem to be able to have those conversations. And I think Rob and I have had that discussion as well.
Well, and tech can get in the way, and tech doesn't always work all the time either. I mean, look at the mic issue I just had. For whatever reason, my mic decided to shut off in mid. I don't know why. Can everybody hear me now, by the way?
Yes.
All right.
Well, what we've done is we've taken the humanity out of what we do. So when you go and you try to ask for help, you get a chatbot. And if you get a chatbot, then you have to wait until the next business day. And then when you get to the next business day, their phone lines are so busy, it's call us back on the next day. Companies do not want to deal with clients. They want to sell and just go away. And the thing that we have learned over the 2.5 years that we've been incorporated is that when you treat your customer and your client a certain way, they're going to treat your wallet and your bottom line a certain way.
They will. Now, we did a kind of a different approach on that, Andrew. We did phone calls at the very beginning. We thought about bringing salespeople on. We tried finding people that would fit the whole marketing piece to understand what we do. It's hard enough to find someone that understands every little piece that we do and our principles inside of of voice search and how we get listings and how the whole marketing world works for that side. And what Dean and I ended up deciding to do is we actually shut our telephone completely off. We do everything by email and chat. And when you send a message in, it collects information from you for, hey, yep, we're going to get back to you. We usually respond within a day, but you're going to get Dean and myself responding back to you 98% of the time. Most of the time, our assistants never hop in because it's one of those things to where we then control that piece. Is it hard to scale at that piece? Not really, not when you don't have very many support tickets. We couldn't do that on your level for the tech support side because that's impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to be everybody's cup of tea? No, we're not. I know a lot of people just want to be done and move on, and that's it. But what we serve and who we serve are those who need the hand-holding, those who want to have that type of connection. And what we found in our market, which is why we should not exist, but we do, is that there is a market for it. There is a growing market for us being able to be interactive with our clients in real time on the phone via our camera. So we use third-party encrypted sources that we gain access to the tablet, phone, and computer. We handle the situation, whatever it might be. And then after the conversation, after the situation is handled, we break that connection. And then there's no way that we can gain access back to that computer, that tablet, or phone. And your system is then fixed. And do we get repetitive customers? Of course we do. And we do get what we call the rambling grandpa, somebody who calls in.
Looking for a friend?
Yeah. Morty, what was that? Jerry called the 1-800 friend hotline for like a $900 bill.
I don't remember that one.
I don't remember that one.
I think that was
Was that a Seinfeld issue?
No. It was a Cartoon Network show called Rick and Morty, and
okay,
yeah, never seen it.
The protagonist's father's lonely, and Teddy Mason. That was the gimmick was call Teddy Mason, and he'll be your friend for $9 a minute. And it was like a $900 bill, and we do get those. But what that data shows us, and Robert, you somebody have data, is that there is this need, this thirst for us as people to connect to one another. We want to connect. We want to be with each other. We want to have that personal connection with one another. And what we have found over the course of 3 years, almost 3 years of working, is that the level of disconnect that we have with each other is completely correlated to the anxiety, the depression, the suicide rates in this country are going up, the disconnect that we have from one another. We are so connected with each other that we don't even know each other. I can look at your Facebook and tell everything about you, but I don't know who you are.
Well, how many people actually know who they are themselves? Or how many people just are trying to be there's a whole study.
That's a whole nother ball.
There's a whole study.
We're down a rabbit hole we don't want to go, guys.
I mean, there's a whole study that's based on
that's a self-awareness conversation that that would take up the entire day.
Well, it could, but it's imposter syndrome to where they don't really know themselves. So if they don't know themselves, chances are they're not going to let anybody else in to be able to get to know them. We have that problem inside of marketing and knowing exactly how to do it. So back, when Coca-Cola was doing advertising in the 50s, they knew their market more than we know the market now. We know their age and demographic, but where they fit for their likes and dislikes, that's a whole interesting piece when you look at the data side.
For us, the new one is the dating and the video games. So about 3 months ago, I pulled my first call to review it and take notes on it for our team's weekly crash down, and it was over World of Warcraft. 77 years old, World of Warcraft user trying to get a new skin.
I don't play the game, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
I had no idea what the heck they were talking about.
Did you take the call, or did someone on your staff take the call?
No, somebody on the staff took the call, but what I do is every week I pull random samples of calls across all of our people.
Yeah.
I pull three calls from every single person and listen to the quality training and things like that. And they're asking about skins in World of Warcraft. I had no idea. What we were doing. They apologized. They said they'd get back to them. They deeply apologized. So I called one of my friends who's a very, very big video gamer, played the message minus the person's information and stuff like that. And he goes, "Oh, that's easy." I said, "Good. Type it up. Send it to me." So he sends me up. I send it back to our call center, and we put that into the standard operating procedure. And then what I did was I picked up the phone and I called this person myself, said, "Hello, this is Andrew Bolton, the CEO of Tech Rescue. I deeply, deeply apologize that we were not able to help you. That is something that bothers us completely. I've looked into it. Would you still like the answers to your question?" And they said yes. And I jumped on, went to Microsoft Teams, took over the controls, did it, and the situation was resolved. That following weekend, I went up to Boston to see my friend, and I hired him as an analyst for us, and he writes all the standard operating procedures to these video games. Star Wars, The Old Republic, Star Wars Battlefront, World of Warcraft, Minecraft. What's the new biggest thing that Oasis or something like that is like this huge new world. We're now seeing seniors across multiple dating platforms. I mean, what was the last study I looked at? Almost 27% of online dating users are 65 and older.
I can believe that.
We're dealing with a population.
That's a whole interesting piece.
We actually wrote the article. It's on our LinkedIn page. For anybody, go to Tech Rescue's LinkedIn. We have all of our articles on all the data that we collect. We actually help contribute to the scientific community, whether it's technology, whether it's health and science. We did a study. We helped contribute to a study on mental health and mental cognition between seniors and early onslaught dementia and Alzheimer's, because when we're using technology, we're slowing down our cognitive thinking and our brain and our rational processes because it's doing it faster for us. Well, one of the things that we've learned through our cooperation through different organizations is that is one of the key metrics that they're looking at in terms of early onslaught dementia and Alzheimer's is not using technology in the way that it should be used for brain functionality. So when you're getting older as a senior, what you should be doing is taking more quizzes, more puzzles, doing more complex things. And you can do technology, you can use technology for that. So you can play chess, you can play Go, a Chinese board game that's strategy, puzzles. There's so many different things that we should be doing as seniors, using technology to help bolster a much more robust life and a much more fulfilling life. But nope, video games.
I mean, it's
I still haven't mastered Pong yet. What are you talking about? Video games?
But I mean, it's one of those things where and technology is at that front, and they don't know how to use that side, but yet they know how to use it more than what a lot of people give them credit for.
Yes.
I mean, look at your dad and being able to do voice search. He calls Siri Sirius, but I mean, he
calls it Sirius instead of Sirius. Sirius, can you help me with?
He uses the voice search inside of that to find businesses and find phone numbers like the Yellow Pages, like you would use it back in the day. He's learned to use that voice search because he doesn't have to see it. He doesn't have to mess with his phone. He gets to hear it in his hearing aid, and it's done.
There is $17 trillion by 2030 coming in terms of wearable technology and senior health. So 34% of all seniors have wearable technology. That's double what it was from 2022. We have 43% of seniors 65 and older that are using telehealth instead of driving to their doctor.
Right.
34%, that still means that we have over 60% of our population that is not in the game. That is a massive, massive market. So what we're seeing is this is the proverbial melting stew of what's to come. Where I think we will be by 2030 is we will have a fully AI functioning world, right? AI is the genie out of the bottle. That's not going back. That's like cell phones. So what we should be doing and asking ourselves is, instead of looking at AI as the boogeyman, right? It's going to take our jobs, this, that. No, it's not going to take all of our jobs. Yes. Are some remedial things might disappear? Of course. Right? Manufacturing did that since the 90s.
Oh, longer than that. I mean, forever.
And what we should
you experienced that in engineering back in the day for manufacturing.
I used to oversee machining cells, and people go, you took 6 people to do this job, and now you have a machine center, it took 1 person. But the people that were displaced were allowed to do jobs that were more meaningful because they weren't just let go, they were retrained. And that's where people get hung up on technology advancements, is you may lose your job. Hopefully they're just not released, but they go and they find something that's more cognitive, that makes you more fulfilling for your life, kind of thing. So
what I'm not annoyed, but where I have a disconnect with the notion of what we're trying to do in this country, it doesn't make sense financially and economically, because my background is in economics, for us to build things here. That's not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. Considering the fact that most of the raw material is outside of this country, the idea that we're going to bring the raw material over here to manufacture, then to ship over there, is not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's just not feasible. It's going to cost double or triple what the price is, especially now with the tariffs going on. We're not going to be manufacturing steel in this country like we once did. Sorry, that's not going to happen. We're not going to be manufacturing plastics like we did in this country years ago. Sorry, that's just not going to happen. When you have most of the raw material that's in Africa and the South Pacific and over in Eastern Asia, I'm sorry.
Yep.
It's not feasible. So instead of us constantly trying to go backwards and thinking like, oh, we're going to retrofit the United States to be a brand new BMW interior but a 56 Chevy on the top, it's not going to happen. Stop going down this road that is not going to lead us anywhere. What we should be doing, and what you're seeing it in data, I'm seeing it in data, is how do we embrace this and make the change? How do we move and evolve economically, business-wise, to make this happen? Well, we have to take away the boogeyman mentality of this, right? How do we use this to our advantage, right? So one of our associates that we do business with also happens to be a teacher, and he was complaining that all the kids are using ChatGPT to answer the questions. Okay, yeah. Well, I had the TI-83 calculator, and I put all the answers into the program and read it during the test. So what did our teachers start
My next door
doing?
neighbor just had a kid that admitted that he was using Google Glasses. I think it was one of the glasses, but it was literally going through and giving him all the information and recording everything as it was being said and giving complete notes on the whole entire lectures.
There you go.
And that's 8th grade. That's 8th grade math.
That's 8th grade. So the question should not be how do we stop it, is how do you evolve it? So what did the teachers do? They took away our calculators and said you have to do it by hand because you have to know how to do it. And the thing is, and you all know that AI is a 2x2 matrix, right? It's a 1-in-1 binary code. It's a yes or no. So what you put in, if you put in garbage, what are you going to get out? Garbage.
Well, that's where you are right now with what I call marketing fatigue or AI fatigue. We're able to put a lot of garbage out right now. It's the conversation Dean and I were having before we hopped on here. You have all this garbage that's happening. So marketers don't get a hold of something and they'll ruin the living hell out of it every single time. Algorithms are going to have to change because of how much content we're putting out. So we're inside of that whole entire fatigue. I'm actually we're going to label it and we're going to do a whole entire thing on this, which is going to be the AI crash of 2025.
Yeah,
it's going to be like the .com crash all over again.
Yeah, but Andrew, that the garbage in, garbage out is not new. I've been getting lectured to that since the 60s. You know, if you do garbage research, you're going to have garbage results. I mean, so it gets to be on how does your cognitive brain able to interpret and decide that it's not garbage out. You know, how do you evolve that? So I'm going to throw that back at you a little bit there.
So that's a layered question. So
okay, I'm good at that.
It's a layered question. It's a good question, but it's a layered question. So unless you understand the fundamentals, you putting together a packet or putting together a marketing package to a client means absolutely nothing. Yes, you have numbers and you have statistics, but what do those numbers mean, right? So we have all this SEO analytics, SEO, back channel analytics, back page analytics. Okay.
Most of it means nothing to the average person.
There you go. So
do you know why most marketing companies show it to their customers?
Because it looks pretty.
They can sell it, makes it look like they gave value and they can charge more.
Exactly. So when we're looking, when we talk about SEO, the back page analytics of conversion rates, right? Well, first, what is it that we're trying to accomplish, right? Are we trying to get a message out or are we trying to make a sale? Because those are two different things. So if we're trying to get a message out, we're tailoring a message to be heard and to be said and to be understood. When we're trying to sell something, we're creating a message that needs to be understood and an action that you need this. You want this and you need it. Those are two different things. So when marketers are pulling data from the entire web, we're pulling all of these different messages, right? We're pulling all these, we're just fishing. We're just throwing a gigantic net into the ocean and pulling up a gigantic bundle of crabs, halibut, tuna, barracuda, a turtle, maybe a dolphin. We have all these things in there and we have no idea what to do with it because it's massive. It's just this massive amount of data. Well, the problem is that it's a lot of noise. And as you pointed out, Robert, it's a lot of noise. Right. And there's nothing really being said.
Well, you have to bring the human aspect back into your marketing for one, if you want to be able to do anything.
Yes.
Which means you have to get in front of camera. You can't be afraid of cameras and you can't be afraid of any of that if you follow the blueprints that are out there. One of the number one questions that we got when we first released out Simply Be Found was, where's the reports? And I'm like, we don't have any reports. And like, well, why? I said, well, because the only person that really gives reports is Google. And I don't believe any of their reports anyway, because, I mean, they're shit. And most of the voice search networks, most of your AI search, you have no idea where that search is coming from, because analytics hasn't even caught up to where we are today instead of where we're marketing at. It doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know any of those pieces. And it's a great, big, huge mess. I mean, so if you look at different tools like SEM,
and Google isn't, and the worst part is Google is not unbiased. It's paid.
Right.
So you're not really getting clean, unbiased data.
Well, and Google's in trouble right now. I mean, yes, they own YouTube. YouTube just passed to be in the #1 search engine by a lot of people's opinions. And what they're seeing from data, it depends on who you ask. It's a big controversial piece right now. Google's #2, but then AI and voice and Bing are all fighting for #3. And it really depends on what age demographic you go after, because you're seeing a lot more people using AI to be able to find businesses. You're seeing all this stuff, and they're looking for answers to problems they have. So if you're not answering those problems, you'll never be found.
No. Which is where a lot of businesses need to, I think, come back to basics, right? I remember growing up and wrestling, when you were in a bad position, you could always hear your coach screaming to you, get back to base. Get back to your stance. Fight your way back to the center. Fight your way back. From there, we can go forward again. Sometimes we do need to go back to basics.
Right.
One of the things, like you see it online, cold calling is dead. No, it's not.
No.
Cold calling is not dead. It never has been dead. It's you're doing it wrong.
Now, what I love about cold calling is you don't necessarily have to be the one making the cold call.
No.
So we have a whole entire group of people that make phone calls all day long for voice search. Your listings aren't there. They're what create the search volume of people trying to do research on them. And we piggyback off of their cold calls, so we don't even have to touch it.
One of the things I'm laughing, I know it's a weird thing to say on a podcast, but one of the things that I'm laughing at is that you see these companies who are doing like these automated cold calls. AI is not going to tell you a joke. AI is not going to laugh at you because you're a Jets fan.
AI would never have a conversation like we had in the green room and real human connection to be able to bring it there. So there's a whole entire transition that we have happening inside of everything from technology to how people are using technology versus, it could be on the marketing side, it could be everything. From what I'm seeing on the marketing side, or what Dean and I are seeing, I think he agrees with me. Correct me if you don't, Dean. Good, you shouldn't agree with me. But it's one of those things where when we first started Simply Be Found, we were very Google-based because that's where the market was. Mm-hmm. We then pivoted, went out to 1,000 different networks, changed over how the listings engine worked once AI came out, redeveloped it to work well, and started the company over again. Well, we're getting ready to go through another big pivot for how we're doing it, because the way people are using technology now is different than how they were using technology 6 months, a year ago. And things are moving really super fast. And if you're not staying on front and being able to do it, big corporations are going to have a hard time because they can't pivot very fast. So you have to be working with someone who's staying up on top and willing to be able to fail a little bit, because right now, I mean, yeah, as much as you either hate it or you love it, inside of the world of technology, it's the Wild West. And everything still hasn't been figured out and what the rules are. And we're breaking stuff all the time. And if you're not willing to fail, you're never going to make it very far.
No. And it's only going to get more complicated. And the way things are going, one of the things that we had planned was our European expansion this summer. We were looking to expand into Europe. And the way just the administration went in their direction, we had to put everything on hold, because I, as an owner with my staff, I can't in good conscience put us at risk overextending if any given day the market could swing 1,000, 2,000 points.
Right.
Now, does that affect me directly in terms of the market? No. But that affects my customers and that affects my clients, our subscribers. If people do not feel comfortable enough to spend an extra $30 on a case of beer or another round with their friends, they're not going to spend the money with us. So
No.
I look very carefully at how our customers are feeling. And right now we're just circling the wagons. We're making sure that we are solid. We're not going to go anywhere. Our people are safe. Our people are good and taken care of. And when things feel a little bit better, then we can go back to that point of having that discussion of expanding. But with technology, the way things are going, and what if we have these tariffs on intellectual property? What if we have some of these new ideas that the administration is talking about in terms of technology? How is that going to affect everybody? There are questions that are being thrown out there that nobody, and I mean nobody, has a good answer for.
And nobody has a good answer for it because we're in uncharted waters.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no. So we've already explored all of the land that's on Earth. I think we've explored everything. I don't think there's anything on Earth that we haven't explored yet that I know of. There's stuff that we've not explored inside of our ocean. We haven't went down to the depths. We haven't done any of that. But landmass, I think we've pretty much someone's stepped foot everywhere on land that's possible. With that being said, our new charters that we're going through, yes, you have all the SpaceX, all this stuff going on out there, but inside of technology, you have a whole new world, and you have a whole new world that's about ready to enter into your market, Andrew, which is going to be this whole entire metaverse and what that's going to bring. I have no idea what that's going to bring. And I'm watching it. I'm keeping my finger on it, but it's something that I'm not really interested in yet. But it's going to bring a whole new world to how people are going to use technology and be able to interact with it on a daily basis.
I'll be honest with you. I'm actually scared of the meta. I'm actually very, very wary of meta universe. Now, I know there's a lot of money to be made in that in terms of the virtual reality, but my feeling is this. If the way kids are on their phones now, you get virtual reality to a place where you ever see the show Futurama?
Yes. That's one of my favorites.
Remember when
it must be that sci-fi side that I don't go for.
No, I have a daughter that's really, she got me hooked on it, So
I was going to say that this sounds like one of those things of why Dean's not allowed to touch any of my AIs or talk to any of my AIs.
So Futurama was written and created by some of the guys from The Simpsons, and it was based off of that platform.
Okay.
And the main character, the protagonist in the story, is called a guy named Fry. He was a human in the 21st century that had frozen in time for over 1,000 years, and he wakes up in the future where we're friends with aliens and squid monsters and spiders and everything else like that. The internet isn't a computer. It's this thing that you just jam into the side of your skull and you go to the internet.
Right.
And Bender, the robot, who is the anti-hero, who's the troublemaker, goes off to the casino, and there's hookers, there's the casino, there's all this other stuff, and he's just puffing on a cigar and just walks into the XXX section of the internet and says, "See you losers later." In a weird way, we're kind of heading to that direction.
We are.
And what scares me is where do we go as a people with that? Because I'm seeing on the front lines with our clients calling in on some of these questions. 5 years from now, what kind of questions am I going to be getting? What kind of situations are we going to be handling? Am I going to be supplying my call centers with VRs so they have to put them on and walk through these type of things?
You might have to put a VR on and go join them to go see what they're seeing, what they have the question on.
Exactly.
Because whatever they're looking at might have to be something that gets fixed. Exactly. And that's a weird concept to me. I have a hard time getting around it. And I mean, I go back to my America Online days, and I mean, I remember the problems people had with being able to do chat and all these different things that were inside of that mix. I can't imagine what's going to be inside of that world.
There is a sound that children, outside of being born, I guess, prior to 95, 96.
You've got Mel?
No, I was talking about the dial-up sound.
Dial-up sound?
The
Yeah.
modem.
There's a sound that people have no idea what that is.
I mean,
it's an ear-piercing, high-pitched squeal that literally will wake you up in the dead of night. And if you hear it, you know exactly what that sound is. If you know, then you know.
I mean, it's one of those things to where you'd pick up the phone, and if you were dialed in, you'd hear the same sound. I mean, it was one of those things to where
somebody was on the internet.
It was a whole different world where we were.
Somebody was on some. You couldn't call somebody because somebody was on the internet.
Yep. So you had to
save phone companies.
Put in a second line then.
It saved phone companies because then they had to put a second line in, and they came up with DSL. Then cable said, "Hey, guess what? We have this," and we all moved over to cable, and that ended up killing off AOL over time. But it's one of those things to where, I mean, hell, now I've got fiber at my house. I've got a 2.4 gig up and down. I mean, I can't imagine going back into just the cable modems. I guess I do when I go over to Dean's place, but it's one of those things to where I mean, I couldn't do what I do today without having the technology that's inside in the place and being able to use it as the tools. The whole entire metaverse scares the hell out of me because it makes no sense to me. I know there's going to be something for the listings that are going to have to go over there. I know marketing is going to go that direction in some way, shape, or form, but it scares the living shit out.
You're going to have billboards. Kids are going to be with these headsets racing, and then all of a sudden there's going to be the billboards on the side of the track in Monaco. You're going to be seeing possibly companies advertise in the video games on this.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about
I think you can already buy advertising slots for some of that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised in the least.
And then there's gonna be regulations I predict that are going to drop down to where certain governments are going to own certain parts of it, and to where there's claims, or there's going to be corporations that are going to be ran kind of like governments inside of that technology.
I honestly think that it's going to be a very messy world for a while when we have this port come to fruition, come into existence, because then you have to ask the legal logical question is, what is real?
And we already have that part kind of already intertwined with AI today of what's real, what's not real. Can I trust this? Can I not trust it?
It's not even just the trusting. It's the fact of what laws exist in a virtual reality fake world that can be held accountable in the court of law, right? So if laws don't exist in this virtual reality, then I can go to war with one of my competitors and just blast whatever I want in this virtual world, and you can't sue me for defamation or slander because it's a fake world. What law are you holding me to?
Well, right now, intellectual property. If an AI creates something, who really owns it? You as the person who massaged the information to get to that, or is the AI company that created it own the? So we haven't even gotten into those discussions yet. So where going to go?
And I would be very remiss to people is that if you're and this is a message out to everybody, if you're creating content, you're creating your business with this AI. What you need to do is you need to hire maybe a corporate lawyer and an intellectual property lawyer. You have to go through that agreement that you signed to use that service and understand that you may not own your business.
Well, there's all kinds of loopholes and everything in there. I'd love to get a lawyer on the podcast and just go through and talk to him about all of that shit. So if anybody's listening, I'd love to get you on here.
Right.
Because all lawyers I know, they're confused about it. They don't know what to do. I mean, Dean, I know I'd asked you to pick on some of your lawyer friends on that whole piece of, voice and the security side that comes on it, because that's my other side. Is I do a lot of security and different things for that side. I mean, you can copy someone's voice. They can make a threat. Try to prove it's not you that did it.
That's going to be my next. That was going to be my next question, right? So think of it this way, right? The Atlanta Falcons situation that we had.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't know what happened there.
So supposedly this college player, got a call from one of the coaches at the Atlanta Falcons saying that he got picked prior to the draft.
Oh, okay.
The Atlanta Falcons handled this. The NFL came down on them. They got fined and things like that. What's to turn around? What's to stop that kid from turning around and suing the entire organization, the entire Atlanta Falcons and the NFL for a breach of contract?
Right.
Because that kid called this other college student on the father's phone, which is an Atlanta Falcons piece of property, and then engaged in a contract. Now, mind you, he wasn't a representative of the company, but he used company equipment.
Oh no, that was actually a kid from Colorado University. They got that phone call. Somebody pretended to be from Atlanta, if I remember right now.
That's the case I'm talking about.
I didn't even hear about that. I've been stuck inside of data worlds, and I haven't been seeing the outside world.
You need to realize that the sun's shining right now, Rob. So you need to get out.
The sun's not shining; it's raining. I've been gardening, and I've been working around the house and getting a camper going, and I haven't paid attention to news.
All right, so to give you a quick synopsis, about a week or 2 weeks or so ago, a college athlete who was up for the draft got a call from the Atlanta Falcons.
That's crazy.
It was a child of one of the coaches using his father's phone, Atlanta Falcons property, to make a contract deal prank. It was a prank with this college student. Well, the college student was quick enough and smart enough to realize that something didn't sound right, went through his agent, and then it became a thing. Well, because we are using technology, who's to say that this kid can't go back to the NFL and the Atlanta Falcons with a lawyer saying, you breached the contract? One of your representatives, whether he was a real person or not, using company property, engaged with me in a deal.
Right.
Was it just a verbal contract, or did they also written?
It was a verbal contract, but because it was the draft season, everybody and his family were taking videos out, and he had it on speaker. So there was documented evidence of everything that took place.
They actually recorded it on a YouTube of him getting the call. And it happened to be the young quarterback that's from CU.
Shit.
I'm not going to drop names because I don't want to drop names, but
of course
he was a CU quarterback that dropped way down the draft, never even got picked, and he fell way off of the list. So, and then this kid did this to him, and so the question is like in Atlanta, in Georgia, are verbal torts still available?
It doesn't matter.
A lot of verbal torts aren't. We don't recognize those like we used to. So I don't know how that would work sometimes.
But you have a couple things that happen. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to act like a lawyer. Right. But you have a few things that happen. You have the right to record inside of the state of Colorado by one agreeable party, which could be yourself. Mm-hmm. So you just can't tap somebody without them knowing and them having a conversation between the two of them is what that prevents. So you have that law that would be passed, I would think, and then you would have the law of whatever Georgia was making that call, plus whatever rules and regs are part of the draft. I mean, I would think the NFL would be liable possibly, and also the Falcons in that case. Right. I mean, that opens up all. I'm surprised that kid's not getting tons of phone calls.
But it really falls down on the technology. At what point is technology not? When are you released from being stupid?
When is the line of liable? Where is the line of liable?
Right.
Well, you're liable. So if you have an AI go out and do all of your marketing, and it's out there and it's blogging, it's on autopilot, or responding to your reviews, or doing your social media, and it puts something out, you have the same liability as if a staff member did that or someone you contracted to do that. From what I understand inside of there, again, not a lawyer, but you have the same liability. And if you programmed it and set it up yourself as a business owner, you actually have a bigger liability to what it said. So if it said, you signed up, you call us today and you win $1 million, chances are you're going to be on the hook for that if someone wants to push the issue.
Or if we go in the other direction, something is said that is non-socially acceptable. But this is the part where everybody needs to slow down.
Yeah.
There's a reason why humans will never be replaced by AI, right? We look at algorithmic trading. I came up through my career as a Wall Street trader, as a broker trader. and we were using algorithms to be able to capture the BIPs in Bank of America during the summer months of 2011 to about 2014. That's when the market really was giving us that kind of capability. We eventually got slammed and I got sued, and I had my whole thing for insider trading and, basically spoofing the market. Well,
come on, SEC's fun on that. They slap a fine onion and send you on your way.
But what my lawyer advocated when I had my proceedings is that what you were considering spoofing the market was us using higher advanced trading systems, Bloomberg terminals that had direct access, direct links, not through third-party channels, not through, E-Trade or Scottrade or anything. Is direct bank-to-bank sources that we were getting in at fractions of a second earlier because we had a direct line. Well, that's not manipulation. That's just advantageousness of our bank and our firm, that we are using technology at the most crucial point and advocating its most potent capabilities. Well, we're now at that point where we're coming back to a new type of world where this is now coming around, right? So we originally had these problems with algorithmic trading, right? Using hundreds of thousands of contracts in fractions of a point to make massive gains. Well,
we are looking for vulnerabilities and what's going to be voted on, what's going to be going through. I knew guys that were doing it inside of the trading world where they were doing it to the point of they knew when land deals were happening, certain organizations were buying, and they were buying for a corporation, and they could make a prediction by the algorithm that was created that was going to happen, and they would buy the stock when it was low to be able to get it high. And they got nailed for some insider trading on some of that stuff. And it was like, it's all public data. Why can't we use it?
Exactly. So we're getting now, once again, from the early 2011s, here we are in 2025. We're now having this technology shift, and we have this world turning in a different way. And now we have to say, okay, what's fair, what's not fair, what's real, what's not real, and what's right and what's wrong. Now, in business, as we all know, all's fair in love and war. That's the way it is. But what we're doing is that we're leaving behind our customers and our ability to utilize these resources and these things to a much more effective manner. And it gets back to one of my original points, is that how you treat your customers and your employees is how they treat your bottom line and your wallet.
Yeah.
We have gotten so advanced in technology. Yes, things are so much simple. We have Apple Play, we have Google Play, we have automatically connected to your Bluetooth in your car. We have motorcycles now that have OnStar navigation systems. We have everything that's becoming so technology advanced.
They really have OnStar on motorcycles now?
Well, Apple Play. Harley Davidson did a deal with Apple.
I was going to say OnStar, I think, is a GM product. I was going to say I can't see Harley working well with GM.
I say OnStar because it's something synonymous with my generation.
Okay, I was really trying to figure out what that looked like. I'm like, I don't see those
thing
two
is when you say,
in the same room.
a Kleenex. It's really a tissue. Kleenex is the brand, but it's associated.
Yeah, I'm still going to call my Great Value one over here that I pick up. It's still going to be a Kleenex.
Exactly.
That's what Google is. That's what Google is today. I mean,
it's
people say they Google something.
There you go. It's a verb. Yeah, it's a verb now. I agree.
What we're doing is, yes, we've made things so much easier, but while we're doing it, we are literally wearing away everything else that's the core bedrock of what we know, right? That 1 and 1 equals 2, code is binary, and that in order to have a matrix, you have to have its pivot points. When we start eroding that and when we start incorporating that in different ways, people are getting left behind, which is why my business exists, because we're advancing in such a way that is confusing everybody that they don't know what exists. Over $8 billion was stolen from senior citizens in the past year and a half alone by the FBI's announcement. When you have AI make, and you guys can back me up on this claim, is when people put your videos, our Facebooks, our Twitters, our TikToks, our Instagram, your video cameraing grandma and grandpa and the kids and the family, guess what? that video is public. And what technology has allowed us to do is take all those videos, synchronize all those recordings. And as we know in biology and science, that your voice can be manipulated based off the pitch and tone and where you have it. So once a computer can read that, basically that spread in which your volume and monotone can be measured, you now can create whatever you want. And families are getting scammed because grandkids are calling at 2:00 in the morning. Grandma, Grandpa, I'm arrested. I'm in trouble. I need you to send $5,000 to this address. Oh my, there you go.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse. So back in the day, we used to have the piece of, we were worried that Russia was, tapping our houses and, doing all these things. Now we invite it all in and willingly talk to it.
To anybody listening out there, Russia is not the enemy. Well, I mean, yeah, well,
they could be.
Look, you know what I mean.
Yeah, we get you.
I mean, technology is. My grandma probably said it the best. Technology is the devil in a lot of ways because it's unknown. It's uncharted areas to be able to do it, and it's starting to be able to manipulate all kinds of different things more than it ever has. That's probably the biggest.
Our enemy isn't outside. Our enemy isn't outside. Our enemy is just sitting back. Really and truly, our enemy is the people that really, really have it out for the United States aren't doing anything. Our real enemies aren't doing anything. They're just sitting back and watching. They're watching us work ourselves into a frenzy and work ourselves into this problem because we're doing it ourselves. When you have everything connected, your oven, your microwave, your refrigerator, your washer, your dryer. Why do you need a refrigerator to have Bluetooth connectivity? You're going to talk to your refrigerator?
Yeah.
Maybe that's a weight loss program.
Now, mind you, the GE, where you touch the thing and all of a sudden, the glass opens up and you can see the refrigerator. That's cool. I got to say, that's cool. As the house scavenger, when I open up the refrigerator just to look inside for about 5 minutes, that's cool technology. But there's no reason for you to be emailing your refrigerator. What are we doing? You are literally handing your entire house's blueprint and everything that you have in it.
Yep.
Well, when you look at everything from a security aspect and where we are for technology,
that's a whole.
We don't have another 2 hours, Rob.
Well, I mean, we could do a whole huddle on that, and I mean, I could dive deep into that. I think we could, all three of us, have a real big conversation about just where we are. But we've invited all these things in. There's so much unknown. So I like your company, Andrew, because it's helping those seniors be able to connect and be able to help people be able to do the tech side because there's a lot of unknowns.
It's not even just seniors.
We created Simply We Found for the same reason.
Right. I think you're going to have people, that age group is going to push down because technology is getting harder for everybody.
We have over 119 million small businesses in America. That includes taco trucks to laundromats to delis to pizzerias. There's a lot of people out there that do not have access to in-house technology staff, that do not have the time. You're telling me that a guy who's got 3 people in his taco truck, has the ability to rework the router when he's got to make lunch in about an hour for outside of a construction site? No, that's not going to happen.
No.
But
do they have time to go in and register their business on 1,000+ networks? No, they don't. I mean, it's one of those things to where our markets are very close for that reason. And you started kind of for the same reason we did, because we thought small businesses were being left out. They're having these big corporations, and big corporations don't solve this problem. No. Big corporations don't have a heart. They don't have a soul. They don't have the part to be able to do it. They have shareholders, and you're a number. And I mean, we know almost every one of our members. on some level. We know their business more than we know them. We don't really know them, but we know their business on a different level because we get to see those points all the time. You get to hear your customers' problems. You get to hear all that side and hear that side. And there's a difference between working with a small business and working with a big corporation. I like that you solved it for that reason.
I think the thing that people need to take away from today is that sometimes less is more in many different ways. And getting back to the basics in terms of human connectivity, whether it's marketing, just picking up the phone and talking to your customer, whether that's handwriting the message yourself and looking at it, seeing what actually is being written and said before you automate everything. Think of everything automation as a Gatling gun, right? You want that gun pointed downrange. And if you're just launching it out and it's pivoting and swinging it around, you're going to get messy. There's something to be said about going back to making sure you know what's real and not what's not real, right? When you have a customer on the phone that's angry, what are they really angry about? They're angry because nobody cares. They're angry because nobody's coming in to help them. They're angry because they don't know how to do it. So
they want to be heard.
Yeah, they want to be heard.
Yeah.
So when you think of it that way, you're putting a bot, clickety-clack. If the computer's down and they can't open it up, how is a bot going to help?
It's not.
Right.
When you can't
right before we hopped on this call, I mean, we had our own site go down. We did an update for what our listings engine is, and I know that's what took it down. But it takes humans to bring that back up.
Of course it does. So
the bot notifies us and says, "Hey, this is down," but it takes a human to be able to take that step. I mean, I guess you could probably program it to go through and do some automated stuff to try to do it, but really, a lot of that comes back from knowledge and just knowing how to be able to problem solve the issue.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, regardless of how advanced we all get, it's not going to beat us. At the end of the day, no matter how complicated we make our world, no matter how technologically advanced we make this world, it doesn't move forward unless we do. And I hate to say it, we're not really moving forward as fast as the computer is. And it's getting dirty and it's getting messy, and you can see it with your own eyes. You can see it. You can see what's going on in the world. We're moving too fast, and there's nothing wrong with moving fast. Progress is progress. But where are we progressing to? That's my question.
Well, and it's the Wild West all the way across. So if anybody's interested in your services, being able to find you and do all that, Andrew, where would they find you at?
That's really easy. So our hotline number is 855-250-8586, 24 hours a day, or go to www.techrescue.io. All of our articles and social media is all there. Or if you want to contact us directly, type in help@techrescue.io, and you're going to get a real person.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know we have a hard stop to be able to hop on another one. I'm trying to get ahead for being able to have summer to where I'm not doing these all summer long. That fun stuff.
Just be careful. You clean up your summer to-do list. Somebody's going to find something to put on there.
Yeah,
I live in a house with 3 women. It happens a lot. I mean, I'll end on that topic.
So
I
hope they pay you, Andrew. I hope they pay you for that product placement just now.
No, I don't. Listen.
No, I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you.
If the good people of Bushmills saw that, I take Bushmills black, boys. You can send it my way.
See, I'm more of a bourbon guy, but
Oh, you and my mother, the CFO, would love each other. She drinks Rare Bird 101.
There you go.
We don't have blood in this family. We just have ethanol.
Yeah.
We have ethanol for blood.
Exactly.
That's
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys, for having us. It was a pleasure. And believe me, anytime you want to go down these rabbit holes, please reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to bring a flashlight.
I think we can do a lot of those, Andrew. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, guys.